So in the most recent Dragon Prince video I dropped here on the channel, I said if we get any Season 5 news that we talk about it here on the channel. I'll be keeping my ears to the ground for any Season 5 tidbits and maybe things we can talk about on the channel. And well, it's time. What's going on, everyone? James here with some real news, and today, yes, we're getting into some brand new details about Season 5 of The Dragon Prince. We just got done with Season 4 that dropped on Netflix earlier this month, and guys, I am so excited to finally share some details that I learned thanks to the Dragon Prince News on Twitter. That's not their handle, but their profile name. They shared some screenshots from a Discord Q&A session with Aaron Ehas, I believe it is, and some other producers, and only their initials showed. So I'm excited to get into it, y'all. But before we get into all the details, if it is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about movies, TV, and all the news in between. So if you do too, and you love the Dragon Prince, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, and tap on the bell, and hit the thumbs up button again if you're a big fan of the Dragon Prince, and let me know in the comments, how excited are you about Season 5? Alrighty, y'all. Well, you know what? Let's waste no more time and get right into the news about Season 5 of The Dragon Prince. Like I mentioned, all of these screenshots were provided on Twitter thanks to the Dragon Prince News, and it comes from this Discord question and answers session, and I had heard about it, but I couldn't join because Discord is being a pest for some reason. But let's get started with the question you probably all waiting to hear, which is, when are we getting Season 5? And according to this screenshot, the question was, love the new season, but now I can't wait for it to continue. Is Season 5 in the works already? And this producer talent, SJ, I don't know what those initials stand for, but correct me in the comments, let me know what they stand for. But this person said, we're so glad to hear that you enjoyed Season 4 of The Dragon Prince, and like you, we can't wait to dig deeper into the mystery of Erebos and for you to see how that story unravels, and hopefully we get him for more than 5 minutes in a single episode. Yeah, just me? The answer continues with, and I quote, to answer your question though, yes, Season 5 is currently in development, as are Seasons 6 and 7. We've been working on this set of seasons for some time now, which means the gap between Season 4 and Season 5 will be much shorter than the gap between Seasons 3 and 4. In fact, we're looking to release Season 5 later next year. What in the world, y'all? Are y'all kidding me right now? Like, we're actually getting Season 5 next year. Now, they did say later next year, so I'm thinking maybe quarter 3, quarter 4 of 2023, but this is great news, guys. Now, I did predict after hearing from New York Comic Con that I believe it was Aaron Ehas and Justin Richmond, they both confirmed that the gap is really going to be a much shorter period of time that we'll have to wait between Seasons 4 and 5, because Season 3 to 4, of course, had the pandemic and all these different things at play, and we were waiting nearly 3 full years. So that, of course, hurt the show in terms of momentum, but there was a lot of hype for it returning, and I think that, you know, Season 4, and we talked about it in my review, it definitely might have been worth the wait in some regards, but there are some areas hopefully that they'll refine for Seasons 5 through 7. We know that Netflix confirmed that this is a show that is going to be greenlit all the way through Season 7, and well, we learned a lot right here in this single comment about their development time. I mean, they've been spending lots of time on Season 5, and that leads me to believe that the Season 4 feeling, everyone felt this was a stepping stone kind of season, and I even said that as well. Well, it's justified now because we are basically hearing straight from the horse's mouth that this is going to be a crazy season, because they've been thinking about Season 5, so I can only imagine that all of the seeds that were planted are going to come to fruition in Season 5, and we're going to get a lot more Erebos, we're going to get a lot more Raylan, we're going to get a lot more Claudia and Viren being all evil. So I really think things are going to hit a different stride and get into a different gear with Season 5, but I can't wait for it later next year. And there was another question that was asked in the Q&A that really alludes to why Season 4 felt like more just setup for Season 5. The question was, I wanted to know if this season of The Dragon Prince was more like a groundwork to set up other seasons. Now, I won't be able to read this entire quote because it is long, but I will read a little bit of it, and I quote, Season 4 does pull forward many of the plot lines and questions from the first 3 seasons, but it also lays new ground that Seasons 5, 6, and 7 are being built upon. After the Battle of the Storm Stormspire, the world of Xadia had some large changes. And they go on to talk about the humans and Sunfire Elves conflict and just a lot of things that we have already seen in Season 4, but this provides new perspective. It just goes to show that this is a completely new saga, which we all probably could have guessed, but Seasons 5, 6, and 7 will be an arc in it of themselves, which is very confusing, I guess, for those who are trying to still defend Season 4 like myself, because this definitely feels like an outlier kind of season. I do think that all signs point to Seasons 5, 6, and 7 being the story that they really wanted to try and tell so badly in Season 4, but knew that they had to just stretch it out a little bit more. So I think in retrospect, Season 4 will be treated a lot kinder when we see 5, 6, and 7 played out. That's just my guess. And yeah, so just really excited for the future of this series, and I'm really glad they're thinking ahead here. They have a actual road map instead of them trying to fill plots in little by little. So let's continue with this Q&A session and pick out some more fun answers. One question here really made me chuckle. Why call this season Mystery of Erebos instead of Where is Erebos? Or will we see a lot more of him in the next season? And this person went on to kind of grill the producers because they talked about how everything was being hyped surrounding Erebos and us getting more of him, and all the ads and the promos were definitely pointing towards Erebos being this big Thanos type character in Season 4. And while I still think he is that kind of character, this fan has a point. We only get him for 5 minutes of screen time, and that's not great. But the answer here was very interesting. And I quote, "Mystery of Erebos isn't the name of Season 4. Instead, it's the name of the larger story we'll be telling over the course of Seasons 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then they went on to say this means two things. One, you'll continue to see the Mystery of Erebos logo and subtitle used for future seasons. And two, you definitely haven't seen the last of Erebos. There will be plenty of opportunities for you not only to properly discover what exactly is so mysterious about the Midnight Star, but also enjoy a lot more screen time with your favorite Star Touch elf." Yeah, that is good news. I want to say, for the most part, I think that this is definitely going to help make fans feel more comfortable with the direction that they're going. So I now am expecting Season 5 to be full of Erebos. Like from this point on, it's overdrive with Erebos. We are not playing games, y'all. We're getting Erebos in Seasons 5, 6, and 7. We better be getting him in Seasons 5, 6, and 7. And then this next question and answer is hilarious to me, and it seems like Aaron Ejas is responding to this AE, but we'll go and get started with the question. And I quote, "Honest question. Which of the writers had the obsession with fart jokes this season, and why was an entire scene dedicated to Terry's farts intercut with the scene of Viren having a panic attack? Many viewers, including myself, felt these jokes were in poor taste, especially with previous statements of the series supposedly being more mature in terms of tone and story elements." I'm seriously clapping for that question because I totally agree. One of my biggest gripes with Season 4 was the immaturity when we were supposed to be getting a more mature spin, and the humor, which is humor I expected, of course, from the Dragon Prince. It just didn't vibe with me here. The whole fart joke sequences, it just was too much. So Aaron Ejas replies, and I quote, "I will offer a learning and then an explanation. First, the learning. I think we went too far with the fart jokes this season. To be clear, we have done jokes like this in the past, but episode 402, Fallen Stars, had too many, too close. I think that threw a segment of our audience and made them feel the show was too young. In retrospect, I would have gotten rid of some and toned some down." I totally agree with you because, again, just too much, but happy to see that they learned from that. Let's continue. But second, an explanation. The exchanges between Claudia and Terry in front of Viren were sort of meant to be awkward and cringe. Claudia is trying to show off her new boyfriend and how great their relationship is, and she's excitedly sharing lots of inside jokes with her dad because of how proud she is. Also because she's just happy to have him back. Like the fact that they call their high fives, a high 4 and a half, and then asks, "Isn't that hilarious?" The Petrichor exchange was supposed to be an example of Claudia oversharing, so it was supposed to be wildly inappropriate, which it was, and make Viren feel uncomfortable, which it did. Now, that's a stretch. That's a little bit of a stretch, I'm sorry. I don't necessarily think you needed to even include the Petrichor jokes or the fart jokes to then touch up on the fact that Claudia is trying to be very comfortable around Viren, her father whom she's missed for the past 2 years, and introduce her new boyfriend Terry. You could have had all that without the fart jokes. There are ways to write around that, so I do think it's great that they are learning from this, and hopefully we don't get that kind of humor in seasons 5, 6, and 7. However, since season 5 is already in development, I almost wonder if now they go back and rewrite certain things in the script based on reception from fans in season 4. And Aunt Amaya was brought up as well in the Q&A, so the question is, and I quote, "The lack of subtitles for Amaya's sign language is intentional? I know Gren does the interpretation most of the time, but there are several scenes in which Amaya is alone. Is this a way to make a statement about the general public not knowing sign language?" And I love that the answer, and I'll just paraphrase here, was they wanted to make it feel authentic for the audience that does know American Sign Language. So it was an intentional choice, and I applaud them for that. I think that's awesome. It's very inclusive. I just do wish I knew ASL because I want to know what Amaya said in season 4, and I don't. But if you do, please let me know in the comments. And of course, guys, we got to talk about some Raylan answers and questions here. So let's get started with this first question, which is, and I quote, "Will we get a longer Callum and Rayla conversation and apology about how much she hurt him by only saying goodbye through letters, leaving for 2 years and suddenly coming back?" Shout out to Scribbles for asking that question, y'all. We need that answer, so let's get into it. And I quote, "This kind of growth and healing between Callum and Rayla happens gradually. In future seasons, they'll have some discussions about trust and what to share with each other versus what they keep to themselves. It's an important part of their dynamic and their relationship going forward. They have so much to work through." I'm okay with that, y'all. That is a good idea, but I hope that they're working towards something, not just working through it. You know what I mean? Because those are two different scenarios. Because if they're just working through it, well, we don't know what they're working towards. I hope that there's an end game here and it ends up with them being together a la Aang and Katara. We need this, guys. We need it. And then there's another Raylan question, which is, and I quote, "Obviously you can't spoil too much, but can you give any hints about what Callum and Rayla's relationship dynamic will be like going forward?" Alright, and this answer sort of worries me a little bit as a fan of Raylan, and I ship them so much. And I quote, "The line between deep friendship and romantic love is a complicated one, isn't it?" Now. Listen here, producers. Listen here, Aaron Ehasz and Justin Richmond. We are not going to go down this route where we make them a beautiful couple in season 3, kind of sideline them in season 4, and then moving forward, we're trying to figure out if they're friends or not. Nope, not having it. Sorry, I don't play that. So we are going to keep them together, right? Someone back me up here. Who's going to back me up? Alrighty, so now let's move forward from Raylan and talk a little bit about Erebos again. And this question is really interesting because it sets up something that we kind of predicted. And I quote, "Erebos shatters the mirror after possessing Callum, which I assume means they can no longer spy on Erebos through the mirror and vice versa. My question is, why did he choose to shatter it then?" Oh, and this is a nice little spicy answer, a little confidence booster if you're a big fan of Erebos. And I quote, "In some ways, Erebos is very arrogant. He's extremely confident that the things he's set in motion, perhaps more than what is immediately obvious to us, very interesting, the viewers, will all play out in his favor. He does not need the mirror anymore, thus he shatters it. Now Erebos is waiting for all of his puppets to play their parts." Ooh, baby. That is very interesting because that tells me two things. I almost just put one finger up. Okay, so number one, we have Erebos with a lot more than what is revealed to us. He's got a lot more tricks up his Star Touch sleeve. So I do think that he is going to be doing much more in season 5. And I think whatever he's got going on with Claudia and Viren is going to be bigger than we could possibly imagine. I mean, he is an arrogant guy. We know this. But this is going to be really interesting because that means he's been pulling a lot more strings, no pun intended, behind the scenes. And speaking of strings, the puppets play. You know what I mean? That little play on words, that little play on the imagery that we saw in the first official poster for season 4, where Erebos is clearly controlling 3 puppets, Callum, Viren, and Claudia. And it seems like Callum is still that wild card, because even though Erebos controlled him, Callum is still not under his direct control yet. Okay, don't mind me, I was literally just choking on my own spit at the end of that sentence. So let's get into something that fans of Viren and Claudia will be happy to hear. And I quote, "In the upcoming seasons, will there be more emotional scenes regarding relationships and things that happen in seasons 1 through 3? And then they go on to talk about Viren and his family and Claudia. So the answer here was, and I quote, "Yes, we will absolutely revisit this. Trauma, its impact, and the different ways we deal with it is a central theme for Mystery of Erebos, and the relationship Viren has and has had with his children, as well as the relationship Claudia and Soren have with each other. That's interesting. is one of the core journeys we'll take across the next 3 seasons. Now, they ended that question with they want to unpack it bit by bit, so again, we're not going to be getting all of this unpacked in season 5, I believe, but this is very cool because to me, this is how another layer of maturity is added to this show, and especially payoff for fans who have been sticking with this messed up family of Virans. So I'm really excited about this. I think we'll get a flashback scenario with Viren. That could be cool. What if they do flashback scenarios for all 3, right? Viren, Claudia, and Soren, and each of them have this moment, this coming together moment by the end of this series, where maybe Viren decides to put away whatever he was doing and say, you know what matters to me is my family. They were alluding to that in season 4. He almost went there, guys. He almost said, I'm not even touching that staff. I don't want dark magic. I just want to spend the last 30 days or however long he had left on that planet to just spend it with his family and atone for his sins. That would have been a cool scenario, but that theory is still not out of the picture after that answer. And hey, if you're worried about Janai and Amaya reuniting with our main heroes, there is a question here that asks about them, and the answer is going to satisfy you because they said, and I quote, they will all meet again. Yay! I love it. I love it. Bring the family together. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about Ezran here. It's interesting that while they were giving Ezran some time to shine, especially in episode 3 of season 4, there was still not a lot about King Ezran, so let's see if we can pick out some gold mines here. And I quote, what can we expect for Ezran moving forward? Will he ever learn how to fight? That's petty. Will we ever explore a darker side of Ezran? Can we expect him to participate in fight scenes in future seasons? And the answer was, and I quote, Ezran is well-intentioned, but ultimately his good heart still has a lot of naivety in it. We started to see some of this in season 4. He has good feelings, things that didn't go exactly as planned. Let me just paraphrase because this is a longer answer than I thought. And really the right answer there is at the end of this, which is Ezran has a lot to grow into and it won't all be that easy. So it sounds like Ezran is not going to be that big, bold, brawn, like I'm going to fight you type. And I like that. That is not his character. So it almost feels like they're very confident in the direction they're moving forward with Ezran. But I do think we need more time with him in season 5. It just feels like they went away when they were building up his character so much in seasons 1 through 3. Now this is a very interesting one, guys, and it has to do with the Key of Erebos. And I quote, will we get to see more about the Key of Erebos and how it works? And the answer is, yes, you will learn more about the Key of Erebos, but it may not be what you think it is. So what do we think it is? At least I think that the Key of Erebos is literally the one thing that Erebos needs to fully get back into the world, to break out of this prison. And maybe that's not what it is, guys. Maybe it is the last bit of power that Erebos needs instead to take over the entire world. That could be good. That could be fun. And that's all I got for some of these standout answers and questions during this session on Discord, and I'm really glad we were able to break all of this down together. If you want a full list of all of the questions and answers, I'll go ahead and provide that right in the description below. I'll just link the tweets to the Dragon Prince news so y'all can go over there and show some love and read up on some of the questions I skipped over because I didn't think that they were as important to talk about in this video. But man, this was fun. So what do we take away from this, guys? We're getting season 5 next year. That's incredible news, and I can't wait to find out exactly when and how we'll get this season. Do I think it's 9 episodes? Do I think it'll be weekly? Do I think it'll be late next year? Well, maybe that's a video for another time. But let me know in the comments what you guys think of this Q&A session and the new details surrounding the release date for season 5. And if you haven't already, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, tap on the bell, and hit the thumbs up button for more Dragon Prince content just like this. Alrighty, y'all, I got some movies to watch, a lot of movies to watch, so stay on the lookout for some fun reviews. Again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening. Ooh, I could go for a jelly tart after that. I could, not a brown one, just the regular ones, please.